see. There we go. So. Good evening, everyone. Hey, Sue, Nadia, Mats, Nicole. Nice to see you tonight again. I hope everyone had a good week. Let's see. I've had a really good week since last time. Thank you so much for the last meeting. It was very enlightening. It was so much fun because after we had that talk, I started thinking more about, okay, so if I think more about what you want than what I think, because many times when I do a video, I sit down and I think, okay, I believe this is important. This is something I think would be good to share because it will help someone. I started thinking, what would you want to know? Like what you actually want from this? And it's so easy to get lost in your own motivation because, as I said last time, for me, you just sit because you sit. It's like, it's so obvious. You don't really need a reason to sit. If you just do it, it'll become obvious. But that's not the way it is for everyone. So kind of needing to get to the point where you understand that, oh, it's really good and I can get something and you can feel it. It makes it kind of different how I approach when I make my videos. I made one for tomorrow that was about how to bring the peacefulness and the calm that you feel in the meditation when you get off the cushion, because it's one of the things that I get off. Well, people ask me quite often, like, how do I kind of take what we feel here when we're sitting, and I want to feel that the rest of the day, because I feel so good and I feel more centered, I feel more peaceful, I feel more happy, and I want to feel like that more. How do I do that? So I actually made a video about the sausage technique, which I have mentioned to you before, so you'll recognize it. But yeah, it's been really fun. Thank you. I really enjoyed that, and I hope you did too. It was, yeah, win-win. So what's everyone been up to this week? Have you done anything fun? Have you had any nice things happen? Nadia, unrelated. The footage you use at the start, did you film that yourself? I wish. No. that's what do you call that? That's stock photography. It's I have a site where I buy kind of I pay a yearly service and I can use their music and video, and I used to do that much more, but since I simply don't have any time anymore, like the time I have to actually come up with an idea, record a video, edit it, and like it takes a lot of time to make YouTube videos. So I've had to kind of shrink that because there's just not enough time anymore. So I've skipped that, and it seems to, I mean, the videos are kind of more natural, and I think a lot of people like that. I don't think it's a disadvantage. So I don't actually post a lot of B-roll. What I do is, and which I like, is that I usually just take a walk. I think about something. Today I did another video today, which was, I call it The Universe Rewards Meditation and Action, Not Knowledge of Scripture. That was like the theme of the video. And then I just walked around and I recorded like it's beautiful outside. It's very cold today. And there's just like this biting cold, so you can kind of see the frost and you can see the lake, and there's all the Canadian geese lying on the lake. And I just took out the camera and I started filming, and I was like, okay, I'm going to talk about this, and I just talk. And then I take that, like this from my walk. As I go out walking, I work like in the forest and pick up stuff people have thrown out and make sure everything's okay. And while I do that, I just pick up my camera and film a little bit, and it takes very little time for me to do that. So that's, yeah. So no, the stuff in the beginning was not my filming. Maybe I should do that. That's a good idea. Thank you, Nadia. I'm gonna do that one morning when it's like really icy and beautiful outside. I'm gonna take my camera and I'm actually gonna take you with me for a long walk, so you can walk with me like how I walk in the morning. That'd be fun. See, Sue, when I went to shop in my village yesterday, I smiled and said hello to everyone I passed. All but two looked at me as if I was a freak. It is a shame that so many people are. It depends on where you are in the world also. Some places are more open to that than others. But I really believe that, like, as long as we feel that we're not trying to get anything from them, or they can feel they're not threatened, I mean, I say hi to people just as much for me as for them, because I enjoy having contact with people and I enjoy making people smile. I think it's a good use of my time and energy to make others feel good. And very few people will feel bad by you saying hello to them. I mean, obviously, if you're walking on the road and everyone you pass, you look them in the eye and you go, hello, 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 how are you today? Hello. If you do that, then yeah, I think they have a point. But if you just see someone and you make eye contact, you say, hey, I mean, it doesn't need to be more than that. That's a really nice gesture that makes people feel connected, like there's other people there and it's not just some online game we're playing. Hey, Mindful Mama. Mats, I had an annoying week. 3 exams in trade school and I had to go to the doctor 3 times. 3 times? Had surgery today. Oh, many distortions, but I see a lot of progress in my way of handling them. I hope it's nothing serious, Mats. Nadia, that would be great. Walking nature videos are so beautiful. I don't know why I haven't done that. That's a great idea. I'll definitely do that because where I work, it's absolutely beautiful. It's so gorgeous, and there's some really nice paths, especially, and I'm usually there very early in the mornings. I see the sun come up, and sometimes there's this mist kind of over the lake, and it's very nice. I'll make some kind of compilation video of the films I've made. I just normally don't make them that long, but there's no reason why I couldn't. Mats, I live in a small town, and it's pretty normal to smile and greet people here. In fact, it's considered kind of rude if you don't greet each other. Yeah, I grew up in a place where, especially when I was in high school, I remember we were out partying, and I would walk down the road in the middle of town, like in the evenings, and I think if not every second, then every third person I passed, like you pass a lot of people, I knew who they were, and I would say hi to most of them. And it felt really nice to have that kind of sense of community because it feels safe. It's like I'm not there alone in a strange place. Like, no, I actually know and recognize almost everyone I walk by. It was just because you were out so much, and I was so open. I was in musicals, and I hung around with lots of different people from different groups. And I really liked that feeling of just feeling at home and feeling safe. And I grew up in a small town also where I think we had 30,000 people there. I mean, I didn't know 15,000 people, but of the people who would go out, it would be regulars kind of, and you just recognize people. And I remember one time I got really, really drunk, and I passed out on a bench in a park. And I was lying on that bench and I was passed out, and then 3 girls came up to me, and they said like, hey, your wallet can be seen, and they pushed down my wallet in my pocket and they said, are you okay? Do you want us to call anyone? It's like, should we get some water for you? And like, no, it's okay. And then ran over to McDonald's, picked up a cup of water and came to me like, here you go, like, you drink this. Are you sure you don't want us to call anyone? And they sat there and talked to me for a while, and then patted me. It's like, okay, if you need anything, we'll come by again and check on you. Like that's the atmosphere in the town that I was in. Like, they didn't take the wallet, they didn't do it. Like, they actually genuinely cared. And I didn't know these girls, I don't know who they were, but it was just very nice to be in a place where people care about each other and say hi to each other. So I think we can help that by greeting people and just being nice to people, you know. Mats is saying it thankfully wasn't serious, but every time I have some medical issue, it gets extra attention. Since I had cancer in 2022, but it was just a Cipicus cyst today, so all good. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, cancer sucks. Seriously. Yeah. I'm happy to hear, like I said, that was not anything serious, but I can see how if you have that, then that will make that fear come up, and I can see how it could be in you feeling like, okay, I know all of this, I'm trying to enjoy being here and feel good, but you don't understand for me because this is serious. This is actually, you actually have something real that's bad. But it's not about whether that is real or not. It's about how you choose to relate to that. And since what you've seen, you can actually choose that. It's difficult. It's absolutely more difficult when it's life and death and it's something that serious. But you can choose to enjoy being there even when you have something as difficult as you have hanging over you. It's just more difficult most of the time. Sometimes it actually helps because when you get really overwhelmed by these difficult things and negativity, or something just so outrageously crazy, like when my grandmother died, it just kind of snaps the mind and you're like, oh, wait a minute, and because it overwhelms you, and you just stop doing the distortion all of a sudden, because like it just hurts so much that you just let go of it because you don't want to do it. And I mean, that's the main difference between what I'm trying to show you to do here and how I'm doing it, is that from this and non-duality basically says that just pretend that well, no, they don't say pretend, just see the truth according to them, that none of this is real. We don't exist. I don't exist. This is just an illusion. It's not actually here, which is telling yourself that something that you're experiencing is not true. I mean, I'm not saying that's true or not. I don't actually know. But they're choosing to believe that. So as long as they believe that, they can have less distortion because this is not real. What I'm saying is look at the actual distortion, not the thoughts, which is what most others focus on, but actual feeling of discomfort towards this thing that is outside of now, and see that that's a pretty silly thing to do. And when you see that, and when it hurts enough, then you go, well, that's kind of silly. Why am I doing that? And then you just stop doing it. It's such a difficult thing to explain, because it really is that thing that when you look at it and you do it, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, why am I doing this? And you just stop doing it. And then you feel all this relief, and you feel nice, and you can pop into these non-centric states where everything is beautiful, and the world is the way it is, and it's fine. And then it kind of comes back, but it will never come back to the degree that it was before. And you just keep on doing this, and all of these connections, distortions, the friction and pressure we have towards the world are outside, and inside gradually just starts becoming looser, and you're just experiencing. Right now, there's no difference. I'm assuming Mats is not in acute pain now, so there's no difference in his experience of, and I hope you take this the right way, Mats, there's no difference in your experience and my experience, meaning I'm sitting here, I'm quite comfortable, I'm a little bit cold, but it's comfortable, I can feel it, and I'm assuming you're sitting somewhere quite safe, quite comfortable, so there's no real difference. But the story that goes together with Mats is different than the story that goes together with Martin, and how much we have pressure towards that, how much we identify with that, decides how much distortions we're going to have. I hope that made sense, and I hope I didn't say that in a wrong way, Mats. You took it the wrong way, but I think you do understand what I mean. Let's see, Sue. I was brought up in the Northwest when it was rude to do it, but I have lived south of Petersburg in this village for 13 years. They all seem rather insular. Oh, yeah, different places have different climates. Hey, Jethro, nice to see you. Sue, I meant up north. It's rude not to say hello, but here is... Okay. It tends to be that way, right? Oh, no, is it? I'm trying to think. When it's cold and it's smaller, I wonder if it doesn't bring people closer together, because, yeah, we just feel that we need each other more. I've moved from south to north, Leeds, and I haven't been greeting people. I need to start. Yeah, I remember when I went to France, I was an exchange student in France. I've lived in France 2.5 years, and first I was in Montpellier in the southern Riviera, and people, like, everyone walks and looks in front of them. No one looks up and says hi, and it was such a shock for me, because I came from my small village where we said hi to everyone, and no one just said. They all looked like in the road, like down in front of them. And the reason was that there was so much dog poop everywhere. You had to look on the road, because if you didn't, I promise you'd step on dog poop. There was like dog poop everywhere. Oh my goodness, there's so many loose dogs in France. Jethro, I lived in Sheffield for a while, much more friendly than further south, apart from London, strangely. That did make sense. Good, I'm happy, Mats. It's always sensitive to talk about things like that, but it's also more... It's important because it's a real, like, fact, something happening, and it's real for you and I. I mean, and I think the others can kind of see that, yes, in this moment that is true. And as soon as we connect the story and we start identifying with what happened before and after, then we have a different feeling about it. But if we can just let go of that and just experiencing now, like what we're feeling now, then you can enjoy it. That's why it doesn't really matter what your story is. You can still enjoy and appreciate and feel a sense of calmness and peacefulness towards what is. It's like acceptance. When you accept that something's going to happen, there's no longer any fear or worry about it. So that's, yeah, It's a useful thing, and then the body just feels much better when you're not having fear against it, and I think you have a better chance of being healthy and feeling good when you're not fighting everything. I mean, don't give up. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, when you're not having an internal struggle about what's happening, saying, no, this is not true, it's not happening, it shouldn't be this way, it's not fair, like all of those things. Instead, okay, this is the way it is, I'm gonna face this. Nice. I don't think there was anything else. Shall we sit, and then if anyone has any questions, we can take them after. So for those of you who are new, who haven't been here before, and I'm very happy to see, like I can see the statistics, and there's quite a few people who come after. There's more people who watch after than who are here when we watch. And people actually seem to come and watch the whole video. So I don't know who you are, but it's very nice to have you here, and I'm happy that you come and join us, even though you're not able to join us live. So if any one of you are new, then the way we do it is that we normally have a little chat for the first 15-20 minutes or so, and then we do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, where we say out aloud 5 things we can see, 4 things we can touch, 3 things we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and 1 thing that we can taste. After that, today's Thursday, so there's no guided meditation, but we sit for 20 minutes. And finally, if anyone has any questions, then we can have some discussions, or we just drink some tea and then go to bed. So I won't go into more detail about the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but if you want to, I'll probably make a video about that, so it'll be easier for people to come along. So I'll say out loud 5 things that I can see, and it's preferable if you can say it out loud where you are, if you're not disturbing anyone. The whole point is to stop and really observe, to really see what's there without the story of me, without this constant vibration, distortion, pressure thing in between me and the thing I'm observing, so that you can actually see clearly what's around you. Because that's quite literally what it feels like. It's like doing this, and then all of a sudden that stops, and it's like, wow, it's so clear, it's so still, and you see all these structures and shapes and texture, and it's like, how come I didn't see that? And then it kind of starts, and then all of a sudden it's back again. Like, what was it I did before? Was there some kind of like magic moonlight or something? But it is a remarkable process to let go of the self that is in the way. So I see a mouse, well, not a real mouse, but a computer mouse on the floor. I see a piece of grass lying on the floor. I see a tube with throat pastels in them. I see a big mound mounted on the wall, lots of screws. And I see a knob with a sun on it. So those were 5 things that I could see. I would take 4 things that we can feel. And here, really try to feel and enjoy your ability to feel with your senses. So my favorite thing to feel is this sofa. It's just so, there's so much sensation from this wool when it touches the underside of my arm. And you can press it down, feel like it's kind of coarse, but you can also hold it light, and you can just feel how the hairs from the wool is kind of tickling the underside of my arm. Lots of sensations. Very interesting. I can feel this piece of paper. And when you're feeling the paper, I can feel also the pressure inside my fingers, how it's going through and I'm pressing my own fingers. I can feel the coarseness of the paper. Really, I mean, one of the main, what we're looking for in this exercise is to use our senses. We are so used to just putting up the phone, sitting with the phone, and we're sitting like this, and we're just going, And we kind of narrow our vision here, and we sink in and we disappear into the phone, and we don't use our senses. Sure, we hear things, we see things, and we get our distortion system gets started, but we're not really here. So by doing this, by really feeling, we're coming back to what does this actually feel like, and we're not trying to feel something, not trying to get something. Instead, we're relaxing and trying to just see what happens. What does this feel like? And I'm touching the paper. What is that like when you do that? Piece of paper. We have. I can feel this baton for the bell. And it would be much better if you found something, oh, this is really interesting, and you sat with that for the whole time. Like, that's much better than doing all of them. It's not about doing the different senses. It's about really being aware with whatever you're feeling. And finally, I can feel this metal cylinder. I can press it. I can feel there's a little bit of softness in it. A little bit cold, soft, smooth. Next, we listen to things that we can hear, and here it's when you're listening. If you're listening to my voice, you're not listening for my message or for what I'm saying or for my words. What you're listening to is just vibrations and sounds and textures of sound, and the way it goes up and the way it goes down, and the volume becomes loud and then quieter. Just listening to how those things change. It can get a bit disorienting sometimes, because sometimes you kind of fall into this a bit strangely, and you might not understand what people are saying because you're so fascinated by the sound of their voice and the vibration from their chest, or the way that their nose kind of peeps or does some kind of sound when they're talking because they have a cold, or how it reflects on the wall. Like, it can really be sometimes a bit disorienting, which is perfectly fine. It will go back. But really listen to the sound instead of listening to the words or the meaning of what they're saying. So just listen around if you can hear anything. I can, first of all, hear the vibration in my chest. I can really hear how the sound is kind of coming out from me. I hear the wind blowing on this office, on the windows. I can hear my spine crackling. Popping is maybe a better word. So those were 3 things that I could hear. Then we take 2 things that we can smell. And the whole thing with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is that we see, it's easy to see things. It's easy to feel things. A little bit harder to hear things. It's quite a lot harder to smell things and taste things when you're not eating. It's even more difficult. So we're coming to senses that we just don't use, compared to a dog who smells all the time, or a child who goes around and like licks on everything and bites everything and puts it in their mouth because they want to use their senses. Is what we like when we were kids. That what we did with everything. Like, I wonder what this one feels like. Put that in the mouth. I mean, this has a taste to it. We just like, no, you can't do that. That's like, I'm not saying you to put dog poop in your mouth just because you're curious. I'm just saying that we're not used to using our senses, and we lose that ability. But we can train it back again. So, smells. There's a citrusy smell in here. There's also a sweet smell. And when you're looking for the smell, make sure you don't tense up and search for the smell by really... That's not what we're aiming for. We want to have a clean canvas of wide awareness. You want to be open, relaxed, peaceful. If you don't smell anything, that's fine. Don't worry about it. The fact that you're looking is the main important thing. Finally, we take one thing that we can taste. I don't actually remember what I ate for dinner, but it tastes like potatoes, and I'm fairly certain we didn't have potatoes. feel free to keep on sitting, or just slowly open your eyes and look around. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask them, or just drink some tea. Hey Jack, Stephen, nice to see you. How have I been recently? I've been good. It's been a really good week. Thank you. Yeah, it's been nice. I've been going to the osteopath and it seems to be helping. So, yeah. I see Sue saying, if you go into a deep meditation. I see Stephen is asking, do you give relationship advice? No, I don't. Generally, I don't give advice on anything. I help people have less distortions towards either outcomes of whatever it may be that they're facing, and then they know best themselves, because whatever I say will always be from, I have no idea of the situation. You can tell me about it, you can go into great detail, but it would always be filtered from what you believe I should hear or shouldn't hear, and what you believe is true. It's just like one step away from what's actually happening. Sure, sometimes it's quite easy to see that, okay, this is a really bad... Like, I remember one time, there was a couple who came to me and wanted to talk to me while I was ordained, and they were having issues because the guy had told the girl that, yeah, she's not pretty enough to be his girlfriend. He really liked her, but he didn't find her very attractive. And they still wanted to be together. I was kind of like, what? And he was just saying like, no, she's a really nice girl, and we'd like to be together, but I just don't find her attractive at all. There's no attraction. Like, yeah, that's going to be, I don't know what to say, like, that's going to be difficult. So, but even then I try to not go in and say it should or shouldn't do. Instead I look at like, okay, what kind of distortions do you have towards that? Why does that make you feel you should or shouldn't be together with her? Why do you want to be with her? And then what does that feel like? And if you take all of that away, what's left? Because maybe he's together with her because he feels guilty, or because he has to, because they slept together and now he feels obliged that they have to be together. I don't know. But when you take away the distortion, then you see things clear and like, oh, actually, you know what, I don't want to be with this person, or I really do want to be with this person. So generally I don't give, but if you want to, like, tell us what you're thinking about, and we can see if we can look at it. So, when you go into deep meditation, are you aware of any action or thoughts you have during the meditation when you come out of it? When you say deep meditation, usually people then talk about concentration states. Concentration states or samadhis are kind of muddled. It's not concentration. When we say concentration, we think super, like, human powers of concentration. That's not what concentration means in meditation. In meditation, concentration means your ability to stay with your object of meditation, the stickiness of the mind. And when that gets really high, it's almost like being a bit drowsy. It makes you feel very relaxed, and there's lots of pleasant sensations, but you're not really aware of your surroundings or here. You're kind of lulled into this state of calmness. It's more like a drugged state. So in that state, you are less aware when you come out what actually happened. And you can sometimes really go into it, you just lose awareness of your surroundings completely. I think, generally speaking, you remember what you thought about, but it doesn't really... Many times people are like, oh, I need to figure that out, because maybe you had some thought running in the background and you want to write it down. I don't have that much anymore, because that kind of meditation is a distortion. It's like, basically it's manipulating the distortion you have, the feeling of I, into a pleasant one, but it's very dull. You're not aware of now what's happening now. Your senses, you're kind of drugging yourself in a way, and that can be really nice because you become very calm. Your mind also does not feel so scattered, but it's not that you're calm because you've taken away all this pressure and like all the roots of that pressure towards your connections to the world. You just basically drugged yourself by focusing on one thing, one thing, one thing, one thing, one thing, one thing, one thing. And then the mind just sticks with that thing, and you don't have to try to stay with it, and then you kind of sink into that, and you get more and more deeper into that meditation. So it's a temporary fix, and it's not what we're trying to do here, which is why I always say wide awareness. You don't want to sink into it, you want to feel wide, you want to be aware of things happening always, like it's on a clean canvas, a clean slate, where you're just feeling things happening. So it's not something that I try to do. If someone is in a state like this and they're talking, you can see it in their eyes. It's quite often you're sitting like this. I pop into it a little bit. I can feel my eyes pop down, and it's like you do like this, and the face just starts hanging, and you kind of open, and then you sit, and you can keep it, because if you open your eyes wide, you break the state. The eyes are connected to the states. If you really start doing like this, you break the state eventually. It's same as when you at night, if you wake up, if you turn on the lights and you start looking like this, then you're gonna really be awake. But if you try next time you need to go to the bathroom in the night, don't open your eyes fully. Actually try to walk with them a little bit closed. You'll actually have an easier time staying in the sleeping state than if you don't. I'm not sure if that's what you asked, but I hope that makes sense. Let's see. Stephen, relationships feels like a convenience a little bit. How do you know if you found the one for you, or is that not a thing? Relationships feels like a convenience a little bit. How do you know if you found the one for you, or is that not a thing? Well, things can always change. I think, I don't remember, but I think you're a bit younger, Stephen, if I remember correctly, like 25, 30 or something like that. And things change. So when you're not that young, but like especially when you're like in your 20s or there, it's just attraction. Like, oh, that person is so beautiful, I want to be with them. And then, especially for guys, it tends to be this way. And then you feel so infatuated by them, and you're in love, and then all these feelings, and you're connected, and it's close. But then that's when you're younger. When you get kids and you start a family and when you live together, then you start looking for other things. You might still chase those things, but what you really want in a partner is someone you feel comfortable with, someone you feel safe with, someone who's there, someone who's good with taking care of kids. I mean, that should be like the number one thing, that they should be able to handle your children together with you, and that you don't fight too much, that you can handle the economy. Like, there's so many unsexy things about like a relationship that we don't think about when we're younger. I think a lot of people get into relationships from just attraction, and then they try to create a life, and since we have so many options today, it just kind of falls apart. So, like, I don't know, I thought I found the one so many times throughout my life when I was younger. I found them like every second day, it felt like, for when I was a teenager. Like, it's just, oh, she's the one, she's the one. I think it just takes a lot of time, and it's more that you go through so many things, that the amount of stuff that I've gone through with my fiance right now, I just feel like I wouldn't have the energy to do it again with someone else, because it's been a lot of work, but it's so worth it afterwards, because it's gotten us closer, and I've become a better person, she's become a better person. So it's, I mean, in the end, I think it's just choose someone who's just a nice, like just a decent person, not an idiot, like not kind of someone who shares similar values to you. And then if you have a good basis to work from, then you can take that and make it into a great relationship. It's not going to be like for most people that you meet someone and everything is amazing and there's never going to be any problems. I mean, I've never met anyone who has it like that. And for me, it most certainly wasn't like that. We had very strong attraction, but we also had common values, and like we've been in similar parts throughout our life. We've been doing similar things on our journey, kind of, and that just matched. So we just functioned together well. And then it's a lot easier. Stephen, I just feel like love is for everyone, but due to a relationship, you have to be loving for one person. So that's why I can feel it. Okay, like, yeah, no, but that's a very different thing. So that I can talk about. So I am in a monogamous relationship. I would not like being in a open relationship. That just wouldn't work for me. There are some people who can probably feel comfortable with that, but for me, just no. And I can feel loving and close to other people, but that doesn't mean I want to have sex with them or be intimate with them, or there are certain things that are different between my fiance and a person that I know who is not like my partner. I have friends who I'm very close to. I have colleagues that I'm very close to, but that doesn't mean that I feel like I need to do anything else with that. And that's also I think it's an age thing. And when you, like, there's hormones and stuff, when you become a father or a mother, those things kind of settle down, and the drugs in your body is going to make it easier to stay with one person. And as you get older, like, that just, I mean, if I see a beautiful girl on the street, or a woman, and I go, wow, like, what am I going to do with her? Like, we make love, and then what? Like, what's going to happen then after that? So what? Like, I could not ask for anything better in that regard than what I have with my fiancée, because we have so much connection that I could never find that with someone else. I mean, it took us 9 years to get the kind of connection we have, and I'm not deluding myself into believing that, okay, if I could just find the perfect one, she's not going to have any problems, there's never going to be any fights, she's just going to be perfect. I mean, that doesn't exist. So you just choose someone who you like, who is a decent person, who you find enjoyable to spend time around, not just because of the way they look, but you actually enjoy being with them. I think it's more important. It was such a, I think it was Sting who said that. Yeah, it was Sting. I can't remember exactly, but I'm paraphrasing. It was something along the lines of, I don't remember if he said, like, I think he said something like, me and my wife, we're not foremost lovers, we're friends. Like, no, it wasn't like that. I really like we're more friends than lovers or something like that. No, that doesn't make sense. The point was that he enjoys spending time with his wife. It's not that he's together with her because he's in love with her. He enjoys spending time with his wife. And I mean, when you say we're friends, it sounds like, oh, you're friends, you're not lovers. But if you enjoy spending time with them, I think that's the most important thing. You should really enjoy being with that other person. Doesn't mean you have to be with them all the time, or you can't do things without them. But when you are, you should actually enjoy being with them, doing other things than making love and, like, really intimate and, like, lover stuff, but actually just being with them. I think that's, for me, one of the things that has been the biggest revelation of actually being in a long-term relationship after I was ordained. And I was very lucky that I met someone just as I stopped being a monk. So I never had to do the whole dating online stuff. I mean, I understand it's not easy, but if you look for that, I think there's a lot of people out there who just wants a normal person, a genuine, real person who they can talk to, who they can hang around, who's not into, like, all the weird stuff that's going on. And then there's all the people who are weird, who want that. I'm not even sure they know themselves what they want. Maybe they do. I hope that made some sense, Stephen, and that it made it easier. Like I said, I'm not going to give advice on what to choose or what to do, but really just think about, like, what do you actually want from it? What is this person going to do for you, and what are you going to do for them, and how is it going to change your life? I completely respect people who live single, who don't want to have kids. Before I said, of course you should have children. Sure, like, now after I have kids, I'm like, oh no, I understand why people don't get children. I'm very happy I did. But I also understand that some people probably shouldn't have kids because it's too much. They would not enjoy life as a family, and then they do it anyway because we're supposed to do it. So, yeah, choose someone with similar values, someone you like hanging out with. Mats, I always feel like I am holding my breath after Kapalabhati, even though I know that I'm not, and I'm just breathing shallower. That incongruence is very confusing. Kapalabhati, yeah, that's the breathing exercise we did last time. So, I'm assuming you mean not during the breathing exercise, but actually after, when you stop, and what happens to the breath. I think it's just the difference in how it feels that you're reacting to, that going from that really like really strong to stopping, then it feels like you can barely notice it because it got so, like, shallow after. As long as you don't stop breathing and faint, I mean, there's not really any problem. I don't see any problem, at least. Or does it feel like a problem, Mats? Jack, deep meditation is probably a free-falling of the mind to bottomless pit. You know, bottomless pit, so the fall is beyond control, and there is no floor to hit with the speed and force to. Sometimes it does feel like you're falling, like there's this sense of, like you fall down. Stephen, I just feel like... Oh, no, sorry, that one we had. Stephen, I agree. Nice. Yeah, love is interesting. It can make life much more enjoyable, but we can also make life much less enjoyable. So it's important, I think, to really think about who you want to be with and why you want to be with them. Mats, it pushes me out of that no mind state. Is it the fear, or what comes up when you feel like, even though I know you're holding your, you mean that you're actually holding the breath, or like there's no breath holding? Because holding would mean tension, right? Or do you mean like it's so shallow you're not actually doing anything? Because I mean, it's a natural part of wanting to have movement. When we drop into this non-centric state, when there's no feeling or sense of I, what really happens is that our time perception changes. I mean, this is quite interesting, and it's what I talk about in the video for tomorrow. Time, you can feel time, you can feel like there's movement. It's like time feels like it's moving, but when you really start to just come down, and it's just like one moment where things just happen, that can feel almost like holding your breath, because there's no longer this like space before and after. Things are just happening, and that can feel a bit like holding your breath sometimes. It's like, oh, something's supposed to happen and nothing's happening, and there's stillness, and it can be, so you said there's tension. If there's tension, is it something you're doing, or is it more like a tension everywhere, or like what kind of tension is it? Just trying to think. I mean, you can have this kind of tension also. I mean, just see if you can let go of it. I quite often, when I sit, move, because you sit and you start tensing up, and then I move a little bit like this just to let go of it. That will, of course, break this like deep meditation state, but again, that's not really what we're after. We're after a state of effortless being, of non-friction, of just ease, of just enjoyment, of just being. There's not this sense of being drugged. It's a very awake, aware state that we're looking for. Love is one of the things that is worth going with without giving it too much thought. The second greatest thing is Job. Yeah, I guess that's true also. I mean, one shouldn't give too much thought to love, but then I think a lot of people would have happier lives if they actually thought before they started getting kids and jumping into a long-term relationship with someone that they might not even like that much. It would make life easier for them. But I understand what you're saying, and you have a point, Jack. But I would just sit with and see what happens. There can also be, there are certain things we go through when everything just feels tense, everything just feels difficult. I just had someone who contacted me who was going into really difficult things that were coming up, and he was having a hard time. And there are cycles we kind of go through when everything just feels wrong. Nothing really works. Your breathing might hit, nothing is going to work for a while. And that's just natural, and it's part of the practice that happens. Mats, I am unsure how to explain. My whole body tenses up, and I have to consciously try to relax. That kickstarts the mind somehow. Yeah, I mean, that's okay. It's okay if the mind gets going. It's not like there shouldn't be, I mean, don't feel like it's bad if the mind is going to start whatever you do. I mean, it's going to get going again. Even when you're non-centric, there's still a mind. It's just that there's no real solidity behind the thoughts. They're just there, kind of. They're much looser. It's not that it's bad that the mind goes. And fighting it is definitely not going to help. Mindful Mama, I think love is often confused for attraction. Yeah, exactly. Good night, Jack. Mindful Mama, I agree, Jack. Yoga is amazing. Stephen, have you heard Gandhi quote, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in service to others"? I love it. I don't really agree with that, meaning that I don't believe you should lose yourself. Depends on what he means with it. I think it's a great thing to help others, but believing that Yeah, it's a very Indian way of viewing things, that there's some kind of reward for being good towards others. And I think it's more important to, instead of focus on being a good person, that you feel, if you focus on enjoying being with yourself, then you help others quite naturally, instead of focusing on the helping, if that makes sense. You can focus on, I want to help others and be of service, or you can focus on, I feel good with myself and I feel centered and I'm a happy person who enjoy being me. And then when you do that, it's very natural to help others. Like if you focus on helping others, then you focus on the end result, but you're kind of missing the thing that gave that end result. If you instead focus on feeling centered and feeling as non-centric as you can, it will be very natural to service others and help others. But it's not because you're supposed to do it, or because other people like it, or because it's a good thing. It's just a natural thing to do. Let's see. Mindful Mama. Nothing wrong with attraction, but there is often so much more underneath all your old habits, patterns, etc. Yeah. Stephen, there is a very good book. Sue, I have to pop off. Thank you. Have a good weekend all. You too, Sue. Nice to have you here. I need to go also, by the way. It's getting late. Addicted to Love, Mindful Mama says. I haven't heard of that one. Mats. Yeah, but my distance to the thoughts gets lost just after Kapalabhati specifically. I really enjoy it, but this keeps me from implementing it regularly practice. Maybe I just need to give it time. I will give it some time. Since it's specifically after that one, I'm not. Could it be that you're tensing up when you're doing the exercise? Could that be it? That you're kind of tensing afterwards somehow? Yeah, I just give it some time and really make sure you relax when you do, so you're not tensing up too much, and like bringing that. You could, after you do, okay, so try this, Mats. After you do the Kapalabhati, then really relax, move, and make sure that you're let go of all the tension you might have gained from the breathing exercise. So you're starting with a clean state. So you're not sitting there with tense, because I can see how that exercise can make you tense. When I just focus on my breath, I notice my thoughts in the same way I notice noise outside or other sense impressions. Nice. Mindful Mama, I read it many years ago. Not sure I would still agree with all of it, but I remember he wrote it from a Buddhist point of view. Mindful Mama with very clear aha moments and good insights. Maybe nice to read. That sounds even better than it was written from a Buddhist point of view. Just a tip. Nice. Thank you, everyone. I really enjoyed it today, as always, and I wish you a happy weekend. As always, try, like, if you enjoy the idea of being of service to others, I really believe that the best way to service others is to make sure you're okay. And I don't mean financially or outside, I mean that you feel good, because helping someone from a space of happiness and enjoyment is very different from helping others from a space of believing that you should do it and that you need something from them. Because if you help them, then you feel good after you've helped them and they succeed. If they don't succeed, then you won't feel as good. But if you genuinely feel good and then go and help others, I found that to be the best way to help others and to be a good influence in the world. So really focus, if you can, this weekend on enjoying and appreciating just being. If you get angry and upset, just look inside. Is this how I want to spend my time? This moment is the only moment you have. You have nothing outside of now. And you're choosing to spend it angry, irritated, frustrated. You might have perfectly good reasons for it, but are you going to waste your single moment that you have right now on that stuff and then lean into the enjoyment? See you all next Monday and have a great weekend. Thank you.